Welcome back to my channel. I'm Brandy, and we're going to be diving into another episode of Horror Media Monthly, which is the show that I have here every single month where I cover all of the horror, thriller, and adjacent content that I cover in the month here on this channel. And we've got a lot for the month of January. I checked out a lot of movies, a lot of shows actually, and quite a few games, which I think y'all would be interested in checking out yourselves. But before we get into all of that, fellow reminder, I do put up new videos here every single day at 4 p.m. Eastern, and I stream over on Twitch Monday through Thursday at 9 p.m. All of the games that I will be covering today are games that I have previously streamed, and full playthroughs of those are up on my gaming channel if you want to go check those out as well. But we're going to start off strong by getting into the movies that I checked out this month. We had some new ones and then some that I had checked out that were on my list for a while. And starting off strong is The Wolfman. I went to the theaters to go see this. I was very excited because I love all of the original Universal monsters. And obviously this is a new rendition of The Wolfman. But the trailers had me really excited for what's to come with this, and if this movie did well, then it could potentially open the door for them to get more into werewolves and wolves and wendigos and these types of creatures, which I feel like we haven't had as much film around lately, and I love them. Wolfman is about Blake and his family, and they are attacked by an unseen animal, and in a desperate escape to barricade themselves inside a farmhouse, a creature prowls the perimeter trying to get inside. As the night stretches on, Blake begins to behave strangely and starts transforming into an unrecognizable entity that soon jeopardizes his wife and his daughter. The basis of this, we get a lot from the trailer. Unfortunately, this is one of those where the trailer gives you a little bit too much, because you immediately know that the father in this scenario is scratched or bitten or something happens and he's turning. So you already know that he is going to become the Wolfman, and that at least one other Wolfman is like hunting them as well. I would say I was happy with this movie, but I don't think it was as good as it could have been. I would have honestly liked a bit more horror. There was such a small cast that obviously there's not going to be a whole lot of deaths, because you're not going to kill off the wife and the daughter. They're the main cast. And there's not really that many other people. This, again, too, is a one location type setting. So we're just in like one singular house for a majority of the movie. So they don't really venture out too much. So I did wish for a little bit more. But ultimately, I really did enjoy this movie, and I thought it was good. I would say it's definitely worth a rewatch, and I would definitely be checking it out once it's out of theaters. But then next up, I checked out more of a thriller than necessarily a horror movie, and that is Prisoners. This movie stars Hugh Jackman and Jake Gyllenhaal. Hugh Jackman is the dad in this. He is facing a parent's worst nightmare when his 6-year-old daughter Anna and her friend go missing. The only lead is an old motorhome that's been parked outside their street. The head of the investigation team, Detective Loki, which is played by Jake Gyllenhaal, arrests the driver, but a lack of evidence forces Loki to release his only suspect. Dover, knowing his daughter's life is still at stake, decides there has no choice but to start taking matters into his own hands. This movie had been on my list for a while to watch after I went through like a whole Hugh Jackman phase last year, but I couldn't find it anywhere where it was streaming, and finally it came to streaming. So I was like, okay, I need to jump on this, and I'm so glad that I did. It was so good. It's a mystery suspense thriller that keeps you on edge the entire movie. You're trying to solve the mystery right along with the characters in the movie. So if you like movies of that nature where you're also following the story and trying to, gather clues yourself to figure out how everything comes together, this is definitely one of those types of movies. I ended up really enjoying this. I mean, Hugh Jackman is amazing in everything he's in, and I think he did an amazing job in this as well. Certainly worth the watch if you missed it. It is a little bit older, but it still holds up and it's so good. Then next up, I ironically checked out another movie with Julia Garner, and that was Apartment 7A. This movie actually came out last year, but I did not have the platform that it was streaming at the time, so I didn't get a chance to check it out until now, and I'm glad that I did. I don't think it was one of my favorites, but it was interesting. For anyone that's not familiar, this is meant to be a prequel to Rosemary's Baby, or kind of a lead into that and explaining what happens beforehand a little bit. So Apartment 7A is about Terry Giannoffrio and her dreams of fame and fortune in New York City, but after suffering an injury, an older wealthy couple welcomes her into their home in Bramford. When she receives an offer at another chance at fame, it seems that all her dreams are coming true. However, disturbing circumstances soon have her second-guessing the sacrifices she's willing to make for her career as she realizes that something evil is living in Apartment 7A. I really like Julia Garner, which is why I was wanting to watch this movie, but I'll be honest, it was a little boring. I don't think the movie was necessarily bad, but it wasn't super exciting. There was a couple of moments that were really weird. There was different moments where the main character has either goes unconscious or has weird stuff happening, and there's kind of these time jumps where you as the viewer, you're not sure if what she saw is actually real or if it's meant to be in her head. So I felt like I was just as confused as she was at times, and I didn't totally love that because I still got to the end of it not knowing what exactly happened. But I do think it had a satisfying ending, so it's worth it to get to that point. But overall, this one was probably the weakest of the movies I watched this past month. Then next up, there was a lot of horror TV shows that I got into. Some new, some old that I wanted to get to. But starting off with a new one, we got a new season of Goosebumps. We got Goosebumps The Vanishing. Now, this is a Hulu original. The first of this Goosebumps revival actually came out 2 years ago. It had Justin Long. And now this new one with David Schwimmer it's meant to be more of an anthology series, as it seems, because this one is not related to the other story that we had previously gotten. So Goosebumps The Vanishing, these twin siblings, Cece and Devin, move to a new town to spend the summer with their botanist father, only to find themselves entangled in a series of eerie mysteries, seemingly linked to the unsolved disappearance of 4 teenagers from decades past. As their family's tragic history surfaces in unsettling ways, the brother and sister and their dad have to kind of figure out what the heck is happening and how is what is happening now linked to the disappearances that have happened in the past. I love David Schwimmer, and he has a little bit of humor in this because I feel like that's his natural go-to, but he just feels so incredibly depressed in this show, and it hurts my heart to see him like that as a character. But it's understandable because there's all of this crazy shit going on around him. It takes place in Brooklyn, but the brother and sister also make trips into Manhattan for other things. So this main setting of it is primarily in Brooklyn, in the house that the dad lives in, and then neighboring areas. I think the dynamics between the main characters is really interesting. It's really cool. One of the things I think is really cool that they've been doing with these Goosebumps ones is every single episode is a title of a book. It's loosely based off of that book, but it kind of, you can see the titles and sort of guess ooh, what is this episode going to be about? Or at least for me, that's fun because I used to read these books as a kid, so it's all bringing the nostalgia back. But honestly, this second season has been really good so far, and I'm very much so looking forward to seeing how they continue this and what they would do next. And next up, I actually caught up on The Walking Dead, Daryl Dixon, Season 2, The Book of Carol. I had previously on here talked about Season 1, and all of that is Daryl going to France, and he's trapped there, and then he meets this boy, Laurent, and this girl, Isabel, and all of this stuff happens. Well, Season 2 just came out at the tail end of last year. I finally got around to watching it. And this season was crazy. Follows Daryl Dixon, obviously, as he's in France, struggling to figure out how he got there. However, Carol, who's back in America, is now desperately searching for Daryl and trying to figure out how the heck she is going to locate him. And when she does, how is she going to make it to France and be able to find out where he is? The entire first like 2 episodes are a lot of Carol because we haven't seen her for a whole season. She was supposed to be in season 1, but I think there was scheduling issues with Melissa McBride. So we don't get her until this season, and we got to get a little bit of her story before, you know, she's on this hunt to find Daryl. So it starts off with that, and then the first half is her, you know, figuring out where he could be and locating him, and then it progresses from there. I really like this season. I think it was stronger than the first, primarily probably because I like both of these characters so much. I really like Melissa McBride and Norman Reedus. I think they are really incredible together. I love them in the original Walking Dead, so seeing them in this show and finally being reunited, and there's so many like Carol flashbacks in this to the original show that makes you so incredibly nostalgic. So if you like those first couple of seasons of The Walking Dead, when Carol and Daryl really built up their friendship, this season throws it all the way back to like seasons 1 and 2 so much so. So I absolutely love that. This is on, if you know, basic cable, it's on if you stream AMC stuff. I think the first season is on Netflix now. Hopefully they have more of it coming there, more of the other spin-off series of The Walking Dead, so I'm able to check them out. But it's so good. This is worth it. I was somebody that fell off from The Walking Dead in the later seasons, even though I'm a comic lover. I like the Daryl show, though. Give it a shot. And then next up, we have a show that actually came out a couple years ago that is a Netflix original. It is a Korean show, actually, and it's called All of Us Are Dead. This has been on my list for a bit, and I have had, like, this heavy obsession with watching K-dramas recently, so I was like, oh, I gotta get into this one. And this did not disappoint. This show was so good. So All of Us Are Dead follows a group of high school students that are trapped inside their school in Hyeosan, South Korea, as a deadly virus turns their classmates into flesh-eating zombies, forcing them to fight for survival against the infected while navigating the chaos and dangers of the outbreak, all while trying to escape and reach safety. Dude, this show was so good. I loved it. Since it takes place in a high school, the outbreak literally begins in the high school. So they are at the source of it all. It's not like the outbreak starts around them and then comes in. It's branching out from the high school, which I feel like makes it so much more interesting. And the stakes are so much higher because the whole rest of the town and the world don't even know what's going on for like the first couple episodes until it kind of starts to trickle outward, and we see our main characters finally realizing like, hey, even if we escape this high school, is there even safety outside of here to get to? Because we have all these high school kids that are, it also, like, every teacher we come in contact with either dies or they're just already all dead somehow. I'm not sure how that happens because it's primarily students in this. But the transition from them, like, moving from room to room and trying to come up with strategies of how to escape and what to do, I loved it. I binged this show in, like, 2 days. It was so good. If you are okay with reading subtitles with stuff, definitely recommend watching this in Korean, watching it in the original language. So incredibly good. I'm not a big fan of watching stuff being dubbed. I just feel like it takes away from the emotion of a lot of the characters when you just have it in English and it doesn't match the expressions and the mouths of the characters. Definitely watch it in Korean if you can. So good. Apparently there's a second season that's supposed to be coming, but this show came out several years ago and there's been no updates since then, so unfortunately, I'm not going to hold my breath for now. Then next up, I checked out a bunch of video games this month. Like I said, you can check it out over here as well. And first up, we got into some more Chilla's Arts. We played Chilla's Arts Night Security. Dude, this game was absolutely terrifying. I feel like Chilla's Arts has a way of just scaring the bejesus out of me with every one of their games so quickly, and this one did just that. Night Security by Chilla's Arts is a Japanese psychological horror game where you take on the role of a night security guard in a seemingly ordinary building. But as the night progresses, disturbing occurrences and unsettling mysteries begin to unfold, forcing you to confront the unsettling truth hidden within the building's dark corners. With the constant feeling of being watched and stalked by an unknown entity, you have to try to escape the building at the end of the night. This game was terrifying. It starts off kind of slow. Like, this is the creepiest building I've literally ever been in my life before shit even hits the fan. And it starts off a little slow, and then you kind of ease into, like, your responsibility is to close up every floor, fulfill whatever duties you have, and then go to the next floor and do the same. And each floor just gets weirder and weirder and weirder, and more shit keeps happening. It's crazy. There was a bunch of jump scares. There was weird stuff going on. I loved it, though. If you haven't delved into any Chilla's arts, they're only available on Steam. They are the jankiest indie games, but they are so good. So good. The Japanese just do horror so well, and I'm going to keep saying it. Then next up, I played a game called Christmas Massacre. For anyone that doesn't know, actually, January 7th is Orthodox Christmas, and I am both Russian and Ukrainian, so I always celebrate Christmas on the 7th with my family. And I took it upon myself to celebrate Christmas with my stream chat this year, which is why we played a Christmas game in December. So we played the Christmas Massacre, which is about a guy, Larry, who 20 years later, on December 23rd, 1979, Larry's living in his house, and he is told by his Christmas tree that a lot of people are naughty this year and he must punish them. Larry then dresses up in a Santa Claus outfit, drives around in his van to specific houses, and then starts murdering people. Dude, this game was wild. Like, as I was playing it, I kept asking my community because they had suggested this game to me. I was like, am I allowed to stream this? Like, is this allowed on Twitch? Because I was literally just my bro. My Christmas tree is like, Larry, you need to kill people, Larry. And I was like, oh my God, what is literally happening? And then the mission or whatever, I would go to a different location, and then I have to, therefore, eliminate every person in that building without being caught or letting anybody escape. And I was like, this just, bro, this is insane. It reminded me of the game Party Hard, if you've ever played that, but Party Hard, except somehow even more janky and even more messed up. I don't know how you can possibly do that. And it's Christmas. You're in a Santa outfit. You're also, like, in a weird adult diaper for, like, the beginning part of it. I don't know what that was about, but that was weird. But if you like some janky horror that's a little suspect, this is the game for you. And last but not least, I played this game called Super Normal, which a friend of mine had actually gifted it to me, so I wasn't familiar with the title beforehand, but once I started looking into it, I was like, this really piqued my interest. Super Normal is a psychological horror game set in a seemingly ordinary apartment harboring dark secrets. You play as Detective Wyatt, and you are tasked with unraveling the disappearance of Masato Sakamoto's daughter, and you have to search for clues and unravel the sinister truth. This game was really interesting because you are a detective and you're trying to solve what happened to his daughter while also kind of uncovering different clues around the house. There's like blood smears and handprints around. So clearly something bad happened here. And the dad is also like totally unaware of what's going on. So that's weird from the start of it. But the one thing that was my only gripe with this is it's one of those types of games where sometimes the game will not progress until you just like do enough laps around the location. So it's not necessarily always a matter of, oh, if I just wait, the game will progress. You have to continuously be moving around a ton until you look in a certain direction or touch a certain thing. So that took a little bit of getting used to because especially when you're scared, you're not looking to start doing laps around a spooky apartment building. You know what I mean? Like, you want to stay in the same spot and not move. But the one cool thing that I did like with this is you have access to a laptop, which has access to security cameras within the house, and you have, like, night vision. So you can kind of see, like, secret hidden messages throughout the house. You can see the ghost that's coming after you. So using the cameras is, like, a different tactic along with just walking around and figuring things out. And the payoff of the end result of this game is terrifying. Terrifying. This game scared the crap out of me. It was so crazy. And I had a really weird thing happen with my playthrough that if you want to check it out, I'll link to the exact video of it, but it was cursed. But that is all of the content that I consumed this month in terms of horror stuff. But I did get some physical media, so let's show that. I didn't end up getting any movies. it's been slim pickings for movies at the thrift store lately, but I did, because of Christmas just happening and stuff, I did get some presents and some books that I had asked for. So first off, we're starting off with, I got The Haunting. So I had previously read The Island by Natasha Preston, which was actually a book that I had thrifted last year, and I really liked it. So I basically told my family, hey, get me a bunch of books by this author. So I got a 3-pack, and I got this one. So I have a whole bunch of books by her. This lady has apparently written, like, I don't know, like 20-something horror novels. So I have a lot to get through, and I'm starting off with these bad boys. So I'll definitely let you know how those go as I go through them all. And then I did thrift this book, Blue Heaven. This is about a 12-year-old girl and a younger brother are on the run in the Idaho woods. They're pursued by 4 men that they just have watched commit murder. 4 men know exactly who William and Annie are and where their mother lives. Bro, that sounds interesting as all heck to me. Like them chasing them down after they commit a murder type of crazy thriller. So definitely excited to read this. And last but not least, my dad actually got me this really cool Scream game, which I've actually seen it advertised a couple times, but I was like, this is really cool. I'm definitely gonna have to make some friends in the next month so that I can actually try this out and play it with some people. But it does have some like really cool game pieces to it, which I thought was cool. I love that. And it comes with like a little ghost face figure. Definitely excited to check this out whenever I actually have company over and I have enough people to play a game with. But I love board games, so a horror board game, definitely up my alley. But that is all of the horror content that I consumed in the month of January. I know this video is coming out a little bit late, so bear with me. I'll try to be on top of my February one as best as I can. It's been a little bit crazy, and I was sick with the flu for like the first week and a half of February, so it's been a time. But hopefully you enjoyed this. If you did, give it a big thumbs up. Let me know what your favorite thing was that I covered today. And if you watched or consumed any horror content last month or this month, let me know down below what was your favorite thing and why. I would love to talk more horror with y'all. And February is going to be a jam-packed episode because there's been a lot of Valentine's horror stuff and other spooky things out. So I hope y'all are ready for that as well. Thank you as always for watching. I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you next time.